Welcome to the Transfer Exchange Show. I'm your host, Kieran Stewart. I am back. I know it was only a brief break, but we have South American expert Peter Galindo. How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you. And we've got Steve K back.
Yep. Hello, everybody. Back again.
There we go. All right, we're gonna not sort of quiz you today, Peter, but we've just got players. We've got players where we want to ask you about, because you're a scout, aren't you?
Yeah, I am a scout on contract right now, as well as a journalist. So I kind of masquerade as one during the day, one during the night.
Like a superhero.
Exactly. Yeah.
Super scout. All right, I love it. Whereabouts you doing scouting then?
The Wanderer, you're back.
Yeah, I'm doing my scouting. So I do consultancy work for specific clubs. It just depends on, because I do scouting for an agency. It just depends on really which clubs contact the agency, and then an agent will contact me saying, hey, do you have any potential targets for this position with this criteria? And then I'll just throw out some recommendations. I've looked at South America quite a bit because, being of Peruvian descent, I have a bit of experience in that field. Okay. So yeah, that's where it comes from.
So am I going to be asking you who the next Peruvian talents are coming out?
Yeah.
Have we got a list of them?
Yeah, well, I mean, in fairness, one did just sign for Manchester City. In Kluivert Aguilar came from Alianza Lima, just joined Manchester City. I think he actually arrives in Europe this week, and he's supposed to go on loan to one of their feeder clubs. And he just turned 18. He's a right back who has a lot of promise. So he's going to, I think, be the hope for a lot of Peruvians.
All right. Great start. Brilliant start. Brilliant. All right, I'm excited. A player that's looks like he's on his way to Atletico Madrid is Marcos Paulo from Fluminense, is it?
Yes.
What kind of player is he, and what kind of player are they expecting?
So he's one of many, actually, it seems, young Brazilian talents who are kind of coming through here all at the same time, around the same age of like 18 to 20. I believe he's 19. He's a winger who, for me, he's been a bit up and down, and I think part of that has to do with just the league he's playing in. Brazil is a league where if you are the dominant side in a game, the opposition will sit off of you and basically just let you advance into your own half and let the center backs have all the freedom they want. But Marcos Paulo is the kind of player who, very tricky on the dribble, loves to get into the box and take shots. Pretty clinical finisher as well, considering. So I think he's someone who's probably going to add, maybe in the next year or so, because I feel like he'll be slowly integrated in there, who will add some goals mainly for Atletico. And then from there, we'll see what kind of a player he turns to. But certainly his raw talent right now is probably more focused on the goal scoring side for sure. But everything else, I like him as a dribbler. He does track back defensively and contribute a lot, which I'm sure Simeone will love a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good body of work.
Yeah, I was going to say, because like you said, Simeone, although Atletico Madrid do need that attacking bit of flair, if you've not got the work rate, you ain't going to work in a Simeone team at all.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to happen. Steve, I know you had a couple of players.
Yeah, I've got one. I mean, there's a player from CSKA. I mean, we do a little stint on Russian radio on Sunday, and we got this player through from that. I mean, his name's Adolfo Gaiac from CSKA.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard of him. The guy who said he seemed to like him, but he seemed a little bit upset that he might be leaving. So, if you could just put some light on that for him.
Yeah. So Adolfo Gaic, he's someone who, I think this would have been 2019. I'm getting my years mixed up now because of the pandemic and whatnot, as we all are. But in the 2019 calendar year, he represented Argentina at under 20 and under 23 level, and was a standout with both teams. And I think it was in those tournaments, in the South American Championship, in the Olympic qualifiers, where I think he showed really how much of a complete striker he is, because he's tall, he's commanding, wins a lot of aerial duels, obviously very adept at holding onto the ball and kind of getting involved in the build-up, especially being an outlet on counterattacks. But
Right.
being at CSKA, unfortunately, he hasn't played a whole lot. I think he has something like 350 minutes since he joined there, which was only a couple of months ago, I think. But I think that if he were to go elsewhere, or if CSKA just played him regularly, we would start to see him, I think, become a bit more clinical in front of goal, because I mean he's obviously he has a pretty good track record for someone who maybe doesn't get a lot of touches in the box, but a very solid dribbler, and the fact that he has the size I think makes him a huge threat. But if he can just get the regular minutes, and especially going to somewhere like Russia where it's obviously very tough to integrate right away, then I think you would start to see a bit more of his attributes being used there.
Yeah, fantastic. He was very upset that he might be. Another one was that I think that people might know, but I think people need to know maybe a little bit more about is Daniel Pires, and he may be going to Bruges. So if you can tell us a little bit about Daniel.
Yeah, so Daniel Perez, he's one of actually quite a few Venezuelans who I think because of the market he's in is extremely undervalued. And there are a lot of Venezuelan youth national team players who I think could be there for the picking. I think he was rumored to be going there for about £200,000, I believe it was, to Bruges, which is pennies. Now he's 18. He is still quite raw. But considering he already has 30 appearances or something around there for his club in Venezuela, Metropolitanos, this is going to be very much a low risk, high reward type of buy for Bruges if it were to come off, which I think last time I checked it should be. He is tall. He's quite good in the air, kind of like Adolfo Gaichin in a lot of ways, but a very intelligent runner in the box. I can't tell you how many times I've seen him just kind of run off the shoulder of defenders just at a moment's notice and then get into position to just put away an easy tap in. His only real weaknesses, I would say, like I said, he is still quite raw, technically speaking, just with his dribbling, his touch, things like that. Also not the most agile striker, but does have some explosiveness to him. But I think if you were to go to a quote-unquote stepping stone league like Belgium, I think he would start to develop into a more well-rounded striker. For sure.
So he's going to the right place for the player, you know.
Yeah,
so
I think so. Yeah.
A player that's looking like he's come to the Premier League in Moses Caicedo. Man United were linked with him. I think he's gone to Brighton in the end. How good could he be? Is he the real deal?
Absolutely, he is. I have to tell you, I saw him play. I've watched pretty much every South American qualifier that's been played so far, and he has been a key player for Ecuador already at the age of 19. He just turned 19 in November. And he was bossing the games against Argentina, against Uruguay, against Colombia. And these were midfields that had the likes of, Rodrigo Bentancur, Federico Valverde, Rodrigo De Paul, and Leandro Paredes, right? Like these are guys playing for some of the biggest clubs in the world. And there he was out there just orchestrating things, beating the high press from whichever opponent it was, contributing defensively, very, very strong despite his smaller stature. If I had to think of a comparable, and I've spoken to a couple of people who also watch the South American leagues, he's probably in a closer mold to, say, a prime N'Golo Kante. So if Brighton is getting that kind of a player, like that could be a bargain and a half for them in a couple of years. Because I think he was minuscule, £4.5 million or something like that.
It's not much at all. That's a serious boots to fill there. But I mean, you're selling him. You're selling him to me. What players are you most excited about seeing from South America? I mean, I have my list, and one of them's over in Germany already. But who are you most excited to see?
There are quite a few. One who I think it's going to be an interesting case, just because I think he has a lot more development on this side. He could be a late bloomer. Lucas Verissimo. He just went to Benfica, obviously integral for Santos in their Libertadores run. He's joining for about €6.5 million. And again, this could be very much a low risk, high reward type buy, because you look at him and you think, okay, he's about 6'4", 6'5". He's obviously commanding in the air, pretty good defensively when the game is in front of him, but he's still deceptively quick for a player that height. But again, like I talked about with Marcos Paulo and how in the Brazilian league, a lot of the time, center backs are just allowed to run into the opponent's half of the pitch pretty much unopposed and just spray passes in. But when Verissimo has been pressed, you can see he's under duress a lot. So that's maybe one thing that I guess could be both a positive and a negative, because he's used to these situations already. Benfica will probably dominate a lot of games. But when he is pressed, that's something that you have to probably look out for with him. He could probably improve that, become a bit more polished once he's maybe adjusted to a faster paced league. But that's one that should be interesting. And as well as Manuel Ugarte, another player going to Portugal, and Famalicão, 19-year-old midfielder, Uruguayan, joined from Phoenix just recently. He's already had 3 games for Famalicão as well. And he's a deep-lying playmaker who is constantly looking to progress the ball. Perhaps the one weakness in his game would be just moving the ball a bit quicker when playing out from the back. Maybe takes 1 or 2 too many touches. But I think, again, once he adjusts to the European game, I think that will come with time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've seen quite a few players go over to Europe, and maybe the move was either too early or they just moved to the wrong club. Because I've seen some of my favourites, the 3 that went to Real Madrid. You've seen one of them now. He's been in Reina Junior, who is my personal favourite. He's now gone to Borussia Dortmund. Vinicius Junior, they're talking about he's not good enough, and Rodrigo's just about in the team still. So is it a case that some of these players are moving too early, do you feel, or do you think they're just moving to the wrong clubs? They need to maybe be a bit more conscious about the next step, and it should be more of a stepping stone as opposed to the big team?
Yeah, I think so. Now, in the case of Real Madrid, I think the reason why they've bought all these players is that they still feel a bit stung by what happened with Neymar. Right? So they don't want to let Neymar. Exactly, and they don't want to let that next Neymar, quote unquote, get away from them. So as soon as they see a talented Brazilian or a talented Argentinian, whoever it happens to be, they want to jump on them right away. And of course, if you are, a 17, 18-year-old kid, or in some cases even younger than that, and Real Madrid's after you and they're offering you all this money and they're giving you these promises, who are you to say no, right? Yeah. But I think this is the case for a lot of players, really, not just South Americans, but really all over the world. I think they're looking at playing time as a really key piece for them in that next move from their home countries. Yes. And that's why I think a lot of countries like, teams in Belgium and Holland and everywhere else are trying to maybe capitalize on what's happened to them financially during the pandemic. And they're going after these players who have some real value to them and resale value.
Yeah. When you talk about, Peter, about like, players that possibly may be leaving South America too early. We look at players like Facundo Pellistri, who's gone to Manchester United. He's obviously can't get in the team, and now he's gone on loan to Elvis. I mean, do you think it's better that he could have stayed in South America anyway, and just sort of improved his game and his development in South America, or do you feel that he has made the right move?
Obviously, it's tough to say. I myself was surprised when the United move happened, and it almost happened really quickly.
Out of nowhere.
And, look, I had seen him play quite a few times. He was doing well in continental competitions for Peñarol, and he was doing very well. And you could see the talent was there. Mm-hmm. But to go to Manchester United, obviously, you have to be almost like a ready-made player if you're coming from South America, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, he just wasn't there yet. Physically, obviously, that's why he started with the under-23s to kind of build up that physicality and obviously to get adapted to the pace of the game over there. But, there were clubs from smaller leagues and or just smaller clubs in the Big Five leagues who were linked to him, where I think that could have been a bit of a better move. But, at the end of the day, the fact he's going to Alaves on loan, a place where he's going to probably play regularly and where I think he'd fit in very well, because technically speaking, a very good player, very quick. But again, Spain, maybe not as, say, energetic, as frenetic as the league games are in England. So might be a bit easier for him to adjust to the European game, going there, coming back to Man United, and then fighting for his place in the preseason come the summertime.
Yeah, and something you said previously is where players, and it's not like you said, it's not just South America, is players are a bit more conscious about where they're going now. Previously, it used to be as soon as the big clubs came in, it was like, yeah. I don't know whether I'm going to get this opportunity again, but they believe in their own talent that, okay, if they're good enough, you will come back to me again. And right now, for my development, it's key that I play. And that seems they're a bit more wiser now.
Yeah, no, exactly. And obviously having the likes of Cavani there, I think is going to help him settle in, right? Having countrymen or just people who speak your own language is obviously very helpful. Paul Pogba can speak Spanish as well, which I think will help him too, provided he stays. But, you know, like it obviously being that young, that talented, being the crown jewel of your academy and then coming into the first team, you're obviously going to believe your own hype. And look, Uruguayans tend to be very, they're very humble people in general, and they're hard workers, right? There's a reason why there's a term garra charrua, which essentially means like, a fighting spirit, giving 110% all the time, right? And you see that with Uruguayan players. So Palistri is going to fit in that regard when he comes back, because he knows, look, there's a lot of competition. I got to impress. Having my loan will probably help me because I'll come in with confidence, and then from there, we'll see.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean they're tough. When they play. I mean, I don't know if in the last time we had Simon on, and we was talking about maybe players going out on loan and whether they was physically okay to play in the Premiership, and he literally shut it down their throats. I said that these kids are tough. These kids are brought up in in terrible areas, and they've had to most of them have had to go to work when they were 12 years old. They kick the ball about.
If he can handle that pitch over there, he can handle this pitch over here.
True, exactly. And I think that was the point where it was like going to Alves. That he's probably not going to go. I get maybe to a lesser league and a more weaker league, and then he's got to come back to a. But it's a balance, isn't it? But Simon didn't like it, did he?
he has fought back on that a lot. I have seen.
Yeah, he put us in our place.
Yeah, I think it was about James Rodriguez, and we said,
yes. But I mean, how right was he about James Rodriguez? How right was he? People were questioning whether James Rodriguez has got the pace for the Premier League, where he can do it, and he just said a few things with a little bit of a South American twang, and I was like, okay, you're 100% right, Simon. And then we've seen now that James Rodriguez has been an absolute godsend since he's come to the Premier League, and he's just shut everyone up completely. He's not lazy, and basically he said, "What do I need to run for when I can get the ball to do my work?" And he's been true. He's true.
It's fair. True. Yeah, it's totally fair. Yeah. And you're seeing Yerry Mina as well. He's improved recently. A lot of the time it's just about the system. It's about the coach. It's a lot of factors go into it, right? And then all of a sudden a player can just turn around his form just like that.
Yeah.
That was it. Peter, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. We'd love to get you on again. Maybe we can get you on again with Simon.
Have the good cop, bad cop combination.
Oh, you're both good. You're both good. I don't know who would be the bad cop. Seriously, you're both good. Your knowledge of South American football is excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter.
If you've got any other players for us, to send them through, and we'll do player profiles on them. I'm sure they won't be anywhere near as good as yours. But we'll give our own opinion on what we think of these players. But thank you very much for joining us today, Peter.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Happy to come back on again in the future.
We'd love to have
you soon, mate. I'll keep in touch.
Take care,
Cheers,
mate.
mate.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Well,
people, it's 5:30 nearly. Yeah. Which means for now, we're done. Yeah.
Lee Ellison. What? We've got Lee Ellison half fight.
Yes. We're done for now. We've got Lee Ellison.
For the next 5 minutes.
Sweating.
This is the last one before dinner break, please, Paul.
Last one before dinner.
And then we're going to go and have a break.
Yeah. All right, people. I'll catch you in 5 minutes. See you soon. Peace out.
Stay safe.